There's a moment right before the explosion, that split second when your heart races, your fists clench, your jaw tightens. Someone says something that cuts deep. A situation spirals out of your control. You feel the heat rise in your chest, and everything in you screams, react, yell, cry, defend, attack, do something. But that's the trap, isn't it? That's where most people lose. Not in the chaos around them, but in the storm inside. Because the real enemy isn't the insult, the betrayal, the pressure. It's your own reaction. That wild, untrained reflex that turns discomfort into destruction. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not free. They are slaves. Not to anyone else, but to themselves. Their anger owns them. Their fear dictates their choices. Their desire drives their decisions. And they have no idea. They call it being real, being passionate. They wear their emotional explosions like badges of authenticity. But emotion without discipline? That's not power. That's possession. The Stoics saw it clearly. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the most powerful empire on earth, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." He didn't say don't feel. He said don't be ruled, because you can't stop the wave from coming, but you can learn how to stand through it. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, let's call him Elijah. He wasn't loud. He wasn't flashy. But he was the kind of person who walked into a room and immediately changed the temperature. Not because he demanded attention, but because he radiated calm. One day he was in a meeting, high stakes, tensions running high. A colleague, jealous and insecure, started throwing thinly veiled insults, questioning Elijah's competence, mocking his ideas, pushing, poking, trying to break the surface. Everyone waited for the eruption, but Elijah didn't move. No defense, no retort, just a glance, a breath, and then he calmly moved the meeting forward. And here's what happened next. Nothing, no shouting match, no scandal, just one man losing his power and another gaining more. Because what Elijah showed wasn't weakness. It was mastery. He wasn't suppressing his emotions. He had trained them, controlled them, held the leash on the wild animal within. And that kind of silence, it roars. The world will tell you the opposite. Speak your mind. Don't let them disrespect you. If you feel it, express it. But the Stoic doesn't express everything. The Stoic observes it, sits with it, questions it. Is this feeling real? Is it useful? Is it mine or something someone else planted? Because not every feeling is fact, and not every impulse is worth following. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." But the freedom he talked about wasn't about external chains. It was about internal ones, the kind that keep you snapping in anger, chasing in fear, or burning in desire. And until you break those, you're not free. You're reactive. Let me ask you something. How many times have you sent that text in anger and regretted it? How many times have you lashed out and made it worse? How many times have you chased someone, because your heart was louder than your head? This isn't judgment. This is honesty. We've all done it. We've all fallen. But Stoicism isn't about perfection. It's about practice. It's about building the pause between trigger and response. And in that pause is power. Because here's what no one tells you. Emotions aren't enemies. They're messengers. Anger shows you where your boundaries are. Fear shows you what you haven't faced. Desire shows you what you think you're lacking. But they are not kings. They don't get to rule you. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your craving. You are the observer behind them. The calm in the storm. The stillness beneath the chaos. Let me tell you another story. A woman, let's call her Mia. She had a temper. And it wasn't the loud kind, it was the sharp kind. Cold words, quick sarcasm, a tone that could cut steel. She'd been hurt, abandoned, disrespected, and she swore never to be vulnerable again. So every time she felt unsafe, she attacked. Preemptively, strategically, but deep down it was fear. One day, during a conversation with her partner, he said something honest, not cruel, just honest, about how he felt she didn't trust him. And before she could think, the words were out, laced with venom, defensive, angry. And in that moment, she saw his face fall, not with anger, with disappointment. That's when it hit her. She wasn't protecting herself. She was pushing love away. Her emotions weren't armor. They were weapons she couldn't stop swinging. So she changed, slowly. She didn't suppress her anger. She studied it, sat with it, and every time it surged, she asked, why am I feeling this? What am I defending? Is this helping or hurting? And over time, the fire stopped consuming her. It started fueling her growth. That's what emotional mastery is. Not ice, not coldness, but clarity. You can still feel, still care, still love, but you do it with control, with intention, without being hijacked by every passing wave. So how do you start? First, notice. Every time you feel a strong emotion, don't act. Just label it. That's anger. That's fear. That's craving. Just naming it gives you space. And space gives you power. Second, breathe. Literally. Inhale. Exhale. Slow your body and your mind follows. Your breath is a leash that tames a beast. Third, question. Not the world. Not the other person. Question yourself. Why do I feel this way? What story am I telling myself? Because most reactions are just stories we believe without checking the facts. Fourth, respond. Not react. Response means you've processed it. You've chosen it. And choice, that's freedom. At the end of the day, emotions are not problems. They're signals. But reacting blindly to them, that's how you crash. That's how you burn bridges, hurt people, sabotage yourself. The Stoic way? It's slower, quieter, but infinitely more powerful. Because when the world is loud and reactive, stillness is strength. When others lash out, your calm speaks volumes. When desire tempts, your discipline becomes a fortress. You become untouchable, not because you feel nothing, but because you're ruled by nothing. Let me leave you with one final story. There was a boy, let's call him Leo. He grew up in a chaotic home, yelling, blame, outbursts, and he swore to himself that he'd never be like that. But as he got older, life pressed on him. Deadlines, arguments, breakups, and the rage he thought he left behind started creeping in. One day, he stood in front of a mirror after a fight, fists clenched, jaw locked, eyes burning, and he whispered, I hate this version of me. That day, he started studying Stoicism, not the quotes, the practice. Every morning, he journaled his emotions. Every evening, he asked, where'd I lose control today? Not to shame himself, but to sharpen himself. Everything that shakes you requires a response. The Stoics teach that mastery begins not when you silence the world, but when you silence yourself, when your emotions obey you, not the other way around. Imagine anger knocking at your door, demanding to be let in. Most people open it wide, hand over their peace, and let it wreak havoc inside. But a Stoic simply stands at the door, hears a knock, feels a vibration, and chooses not to answer. Let me tell you one final story. There was a young woman named Elena, sharp, ambitious, rising fast in her career. But she had a temper, sharp as her mind, quick as her wit. One day, in a board meeting, a senior manager condescended her in front of everyone. Not once, but twice. Everyone watched, waiting for the eruption they knew was coming. But that day, something in Elena shifted. She felt the fire in her chest, the heat in her face, but she did something new. She breathed, not a big dramatic breath, just a silent one. She felt the insult, tasted the bitterness, but let it pass through. She said nothing, finished her point, moved on. After the meeting, the same manager came to her privately. He expected the confrontation then, the backlash, the how dare you. But Elena simply looked at him, nodded once, and walked away. No rage, no lecture, just presence and power. Because the truth is, the one who controls their emotions controls the room. Not the loudest voice, not the sharpest insult, but the stillest soul. And in that stillness, You find something most people spend their lives chasing: freedom. So, how do you master your emotions? First, observe them without judgment. Emotions are messengers, not masters. You can feel anger without acting in anger. You can notice fear without becoming afraid. The key is separation. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind them. Second, build the pause. That tiny space between stimulus and response. That's your throne. Stretch it. Breathe in it. Own it. Because in that space, you decide who you are. Third, choose a response that honors your higher self, not your wounded self, not your insecure self. Your disciplined, centered, evolved self. The one who knows that calm is not weakness. It's wisdom matured into action. At the end of the day, anyone can scream. Anyone can rage. But very few can remain composed when everything around them invites chaos. That is rare. That is powerful. And that is the Stoic path. Because emotions are loud. But your peace is thunder in disguise. So next time life tries to stir your storm, remember, you are the sky, not the weather. Stay still, stay sovereign, and let silence be your roar. And so, here you are, standing at the edge of who you've been and who you could become. You felt the fire, the ache, the moments when your chest tightens, your voice trembles, and your mind screams for release. And yet, there's something beautiful about holding steady, about not letting the chaos inside dictate the story outside. There's power in the pause, grace in restraint, and liberation in knowing you don't have to react to everything that tries to pull you out of yourself. This isn't about being cold. It's not about suppressing what you feel. It's about honoring what you feel without becoming enslaved to it. That is the path. That is the lesson. To let your emotions rise and fall like waves on the ocean, but to remain the shore they can never drown. Mastery doesn't look like perfection. It looks like choosing presence over panic, stillness over noise, wisdom over impulse. And every time you do, you build something unshakable within you. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're in the thick of the storm or sitting in quiet waters, know this: you're not alone. Every soul seeking peace is walking beside you, and every quiet choice you make echoes louder than you'll ever know. Keep walking, keep breathing, keep choosing the higher road with a steady heart and a calm mind. Until next time, take care of your soul and goodbye for now.